Welcome to Economic Development and Equity Subcommittee. Today is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. I am calling this meeting to order and call to the public. I believe we don't have anybody to call to the public. Thank you. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Item passes. I have actually I should have done. I didn't bundle. Can I bundle now? Or is 2 okay? Okay. We don't need a motion, right? Okay, thank you. Item number 3 is development agreement with Project Barn. That is on consent. Does anybody have any questions? May I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those, I don't hear any nays. Item passes. Item number 4 is for information only. Key Phoenix Economic Indicators Quarterly Report. I don't think, maybe I should surprise Amber and ask her to come up and give me a quarterly report. Is she here? I'm just teasing. Just might as well give you some Christmas cheer. Item 5 is the 2023 Super Bowl update. This is for information and discussion.
Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, for item number 5, we have John Chan, our Phoenix Convention Center Director, coming up to the table, as well as a team representing both city and non-city departments, our partners. And so with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Chan to introduce our presenters this morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. I'd like to begin by introducing our presenters today. So first, I'm John Chan, Convention Center Director. I'd like to also introduce Xanon Keating, Deputy Community and Economic Development Director, Dan Wilson, Communications Director, Lori Zelda-Stoller, Deputy Public Works Director, Jesus Sapien, Public Transit Director, and Jessica Mefford-Miller, CEO of Valley Metro. Also in the audience with us today, we have representatives from the Arizona Super Bowl Host Committee, Downtown Phoenix, Inc., and Visit Phoenix. So we're very excited to be here, as in just 61 days, Arizona will be hosting Super Bowl 57. This will be the 4th time that the Super Bowl will be held in Arizona, and while the game will be played at State Farm Stadium in Glendale on February 12th, many of the fan-related events will be held here in the city of Phoenix and the surrounding region. When we last hosted Super Bowl 49 in 2015, the game generated an economic impact of more than $720 million for the region, driven by visitors to Arizona who filled Phoenix hotel rooms to capacity. Phoenix Sky Harbor, Valley Metro Rail, and the Phoenix Convention Center all saw record-breaking numbers for passengers and attendees. In addition, more than 1 million people attended events in downtown Phoenix during the week leading up to the Super Bowl. For city staff, the planning process to host Super Bowl 57 began a year ago, working closely with the NFL, the Arizona Super Bowl Host Committee, and our strategic partners. Our internal steering committee includes staff representing 20 city departments, and we are responsible for all aspects of the planning process. We're focused on delivering seamless planning and coordination to ensure a safe, secure, and memorable experience for attendees. Today, we're here to provide an update on several of the key planning initiatives, including an overview of all of the Super Bowl events that will be held in the city of Phoenix, business and community outreach efforts, marketing and communication strategy, efforts to make this the greenest Super Bowl ever, and plans to efficiently move thousands of fans via bus and rail. So I'll get started with going through the events that will be held in the city of Phoenix. First up is the Super Bowl Experience at the Phoenix Convention Center, February 4th and 5th, and also on the 9th through the 11th. Super Bowl Experience is the NFL's signature fan event. I like to describe this as a 400,000 square foot interactive football theme park where fans can test their skills with NFL games, get autographs, take pictures with the Lombardi Trophy, and learn about the history of the Super Bowl. Tickets start at just $20 on the opening weekend of February 4th and 5th, which are the best days for local residents to come and attend. And kids 12 and under are free every day. Next, also at the Phoenix Convention Center is the Super Bowl Media Center. We'll have 5,000 to 6,000 local, national, and international media members on hand to cover the game and events. NFL Shop will be the location for fans to pick up their official Super Bowl merchandise and will be open from February 4th to the 11th. The NFL Shop is open to all fans, so you don't need a ticket to attend that. Footprint Center in downtown Phoenix will also be the site of Super Bowl opening night and the Bud Light Super Bowl 57 Music Fest. Super Bowl week officially kicks off on Monday, February 6th, with the Super Bowl opening night, where the media will be on hand to interview the players and coaches. This will be a ticketed event, and the only time fans will be able to see both teams together before the game. Also, the Super Bowl Music Fest will be held over 3 nights, February 9th, 10th, and 11th, and will be headlined by national recording artists Paramore, the Dave Matthews Band, and Imagine Dragons. Tickets are available now online at superbowlmusicfest.com. NFL Honors returns to Symphony Hall on Thursday, February 9th. Honors is the NFL's annual primetime awards show broadcast live, where the most valuable player, coach of the year, man of the year, Hall of Fame class, and more will be announced. Taste of the NFL will be held at Chateau Lux in North Phoenix on Saturday the 11th. The Taste is the NFL's annual culinary experience featuring local and national celebrity chefs and was created to raise awareness and funds to fight hunger and food insecurity. Proceeds from the event go to support Gen Youth and Student Hunger Fund. The Super Bowl experience at Margaret T. Hance Park is up next. Will be a free multi-day outdoor festival featuring music and entertainment, local cuisine, games, and activations. The outdoor event will take place on Thursday, February 9th through Sunday, February 12th, and will include for the first time ever, an official Super Bowl VII block watch party that will be held at Hance Park. So that's a rundown of the events, and I'll turn it over next to Zandon to talk about the city and host committees and downtown community outreach efforts.
I have a question. On Margaret Hance Park, will we have a Ferris wheel like that? And where would we locate that?
I don't believe that is
Okay.
part of, this is from a prior event.
Okay.
Yes.
Just curious.
Thank you, John. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, I'd like to talk a little bit about the downtown community outreach piece, which was another strategic initiative of the city's Super Bowl steering committee. We implemented this strategy, or created a strategy for community outreach, really to make sure that we are getting information to the community, both residents, business owners, employees, all of those stakeholders that are used to downtown and using our downtown and need that information. And then also to make ourselves available so they know where to come to when they have questions, when they need information, who are those lines of contact for them, where they can get all of those details that they're looking for. So the steering committee, or the downtown outreach strategy, focused on 6 primary initiatives. The first would be a neighborhood outreach campaign. I'll get a little bit more into that in just a second. We focused on one-on-one meetings. These were meetings with the stakeholders around where those primary impacts are going to be, both Hance Park as well as the convention center is where those are focused, focusing on those businesses around small businesses as well as residents around Hance Park. And then those stakeholders around downtown, or around the convention center, around the Sheraton, the other hotels, our cultural institutes, major employers, that sort of thing. The third would be, we've done some large stakeholder meetings. We're going to do some more. I'll get more into those and just the specifics about what those stakeholder meetings look like and what we were focused on at the particular meetings. The fourth would be e-blasts. Nowadays, one of the most effective ways to communicate with our stakeholders downtown is through email communication. So we're partnering with Downtown Phoenix, Inc., as well as the Roosevelt Row CDC to do targeted messaging on specific items to their email lists. I don't want to steal Dan Wilson's thunder when talking about marketing in just a minute, but we have utilized the city's Super Bowl resource website to a large extent to house some of that information and push some of our downtown stakeholders and specifically the businesses for up-to-date information. And then we are also using a door hanger strategy. We say door hanger, it's really more of a flyer is what ends up being more effective. These are passed out to residents, to businesses, and really that's a tool to get one-on-one before everybody in the, within the downtown area, get that information, pushing website, pushing up-to-date information, for those, for our stakeholders downtown. So a little bit more specifics on some of those items. So the neighborhood meetings, we started this strategy very early on. It was really before we knew a lot about what the impacts were going to be downtown. A lot of the planning still needed to take place, but we were out starting in August of this year. We did a round of neighborhood meetings, and we're really getting preliminary information out, making sure the neighborhoods knew who was working on this and what types of things we were thinking about. But then we also really wanted to hear from the neighborhoods, what were they interested in? What kind of things did they need to know? What kind of things did they think we should be thinking about and focusing on? And then we were able to bring that back to the steering committee and try to incorporate some of those ideas. This was one of our early neighborhood meetings here. This was the Midtown Neighborhood Association in District 4 that we met with in September earlier this year. We've now started what we're calling the phase 2 of the neighborhood meetings, where we are going back out to all of those neighborhood meetings, hopefully with better information. And answers to a lot of those questions that the neighborhoods might have been asking before. We just held our first neighborhood meeting this past Saturday with the Downtown Voices Coalition, which, as you know, is an overarching downtown group made of many of the neighborhood leaders throughout downtown in District 7 and District 8. The next really kind of focus area is those forums and those workshops that we've been doing with the downtown businesses. First round we held were our permitting workshops. We held those in October. Those were focused on what sort of permit information do our businesses need if they want to do something sort of out of the ordinary, if they want to extend their liquor license, if they want to do temporary signage, if they want to do some sort of temporary indoor building permit. Where do they go to get that information? Who should they be working with at the city or in some cases at the county to get that information and go through those permitting processes? The second set of business forums that we're going to be doing will be in January, where we will be holding 2 additional business forums with that new information that we have, information on street closures, information on the events, what the event layouts are going to look like, how are those businesses going to be impacted, how are stakeholders going to be impacted, how will they be able to access their businesses, where should they be thinking about parking, all of those sorts of things that they need, the information they need leading up to the event. And then the final thing I wanted to touch on is the resource website. Just because it has been such a great tool for neighborhood outreach. We've actually filmed the second one of those business forums, the second permitting workshop that we did, and you can watch it live. There's a screenshot of what it looks like on the website. You can watch it live. So anybody, even though hopefully all those businesses, if they need permitting, they're well through those processes right now. It's still great information for anybody looking to do that sort of thing in the future up there. And there's a variety of additional information for our small businesses. With that, I'm going to hand it to Dan Wilson to talk about the city's marketing efforts.
All right, Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, we are really excited about the opportunity that we have here to have the eyes of the world on our great city, and to make sure that those eyes understand that this is not the Phoenix that they think of from 20 or 30 years ago. But this is a really forward, progressive city, culturally rich, with a very diverse and exciting economy that has a great workforce and ready to accept new businesses. And so, with the approval of the council, we are working with an outside vendor who is helping us with some of the national and international approach to our marketing campaign. We've enlisted Reister to help us with this. They are building out several videos that will tie into the Super Bowl, but then also be able to work for the next couple of years, again, with this idea that Phoenix is the future, showcasing downtown and then showcasing how Phoenix is the future. They're also helping us build out a website that follows a similar theme. And then they will really help us with some of our national and international media outreach, finding the right people to write about and talk about our city as these journalists are looking for opportunities to tie into the Super Bowl and to really help us narrow in our focus from a national and international perspective. And then locally, we have a three-pronged approach. You know, there was a lot of great ideas, and there was probably 100 different directions we could have gone, and we really needed to focus in. And so we have three priorities when we look at our local campaign. That is, first, to magnify the host committee messaging. Second, to really educate our residents so that they have, that they have a good experience when they go to Hants Park, when they go to the convention center or the events at the Footprint Center. So with a know before you go event information. And then, again, taking advantage of that conversation that's happening around us and making sure that we build the Phoenix brand. So first, our efforts to magnify the host committee messaging. You can see some of the examples from our social media posts. When things have happened, we make sure that we're part of that conversation. The countdown clock unveiled at the airport, the event announcements. Saturday will be a big day. That's 57 days out from the game. That's when tickets go on sale, and we will be a big part of helping to magnify that message and make sure our community is aware. Zandon talked a little bit about our website, Phoenix.gov/Super Bowl. This is some of what you'll see on that website. It links to all sorts of different things, business support, media contacts, green initiatives, innovations in Phoenix. And then as we get more on road closures, the best way to get around, all of that information will be here so that this can be a one-stop shop for our residents to come to before they come downtown, so that, again, that they have that good experience. Along with that, the NFL, and we'll be helping to market this, has a free digital app for fans who are attending NFL events. This gives them access to event information, attractions, maps of these events, some player appearance schedules, and things like that. And so we'll be helping to spread that message and encourage people to download this app before they come to these events. And then our final opportunity is to really build the Phoenix brand. And again, as we thought about what should we do when we have all these eyes on us, and even locally when we're a big part of the conversation, and we really felt like we have a concern right now throughout the departments across the city with not enough employees, and this was an opportunity to share employee profiles and really help people connect with what it means to work for the city of Phoenix and come work for us. And so we'll have a really heavy recruiting message. We're doing that with some creative videos that'll be just employee profiles, as well as we have several employees who have connections to the Super Bowl. And so we're going to show you one example of what some of these videos will look like. This is a firefighter who has a very unique connection to the Super Bowl.
My name is Roy Lewis. I'm a Phoenix fireman, and I am a Super Bowl champion.
Firefighter Lewis played 6 years in the NFL before becoming a Phoenix firefighter. He joined the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008 after playing football at the University of Washington.
But they tell me I'm a nice guy, so they don't hold this against me too much. The Phoenix Fire Department, they're my new family. They're my new team, right? It's my new locker room. They all may think it's cool to play football. I think it's cool to dress up as a fireman and go out and help people.
So we intend to really flood the community with great messages like that. He just happened to win a Super Bowl ring against the Cardinals in 2009. But we're glad now that he's on Team Phoenix. And so we really look forward to the opportunity to make a lasting difference that we will feel as a city because the Super Bowl was in our community. And I'll turn it now to Lori Zelda.
Can I ask a question on marketing?
Absolutely.
Have all the marketing materials been done, or is there a video of showing Phoenix? What is there?
They're creating 2 videos for us. Those are not yet complete and will be shortly. We're working closely with Reister. CED is working in tandem with them and finalizing scripts and getting those videos done.
Okay, and is this the future is Phoenix? Is that the logo, or is that the branding?
So that what you see there is the logo over the black, and it can actually be over white as well. And then that will be our brand message. Yes, that we are a progressive, forward-looking community, and the future is being built here.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Excuse me, before we go to Lori Zelda, Vice Mayor, did you want our Economic Development Director to add to that conversation, or are we okay to move forward?
I was just I'm trying to not be critical. I was expecting something a little bit more flashy and a little bit more attractive, and would be drawing me in to want to know what the future is Phoenix. This is, and that's my first reaction, and this is my first time seeing it. So that's just the dynamic that I'm reacting to what I'm seeing.
So Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, let me ask Christine Mackey to come up really quickly. I'll have her. She can, okay. And talk about our Reister contract on marketing as well.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you for the question. As we look at moving forward, we are finalizing the script, probably today or tomorrow with Reister. We will bring that stop by each of you. It speaks to Phoenix as an attractive place for the future of technology, as a great livable space, a great outdoor space. It talks about our parks. It talks about Midtown. It talks about... Sorry, Vice Mayor, you have a question?
No, I'm just talking about right here. That may be the what's happening, but this right here is to me dark. And what the words that I wrote down and what was said was the world is watching us. So for me, it's vibrancy, culture. We're culturally rich. This doesn't show to me culturally rich. This to me that has color, that shows the greatness, this vibrancy. And so that's what I'm reacting to, because to me this shows darkness, very, very futuristic, which, you know, maybe my age, I'm not there yet, you know, I'm old. And my kids may be attracted to that, but we're trying to brand ourselves. And so this is where I'm struggling with.
And Madam Chair, if I might, the logo that you're seeing on that screen isn't the way that it appears on the marketing materials we've done. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's bright greens, bright oranges, bright yellows. It's really that much more future. It was some liberty that was taken by our internal team to match something that was in the slide deck presentation. Let me bring to you what it looks like, and because that exactly what you are dead spot on. That is exactly what we're looking for, is that vibrancy, calling out Phoenix as that place to be, that culturally diverse, that really rich community. I'll bring it to each of the council members and show it to you as it was provided to us, and you'll see kind of that future is Phoenix, Phoenix's hot brand, which is a much more bright scheme.
Yeah, I mean, even if you use this, I would add color in the future and just add some color to it.
So staff has selected this very vibrant green. As part of it, you'll see there, it's kind of dark with the red, with the black. We've selected this very vibrant green that to us speaks sustainability, it speaks open space, it speaks color. So I think, and Vice Mayor, we'll pop that by to you this afternoon so you can see what we're moving in the direction of. You're dead spot on. You are exactly right.
I just want to capture the energy that we have.
Yeah.
And after returning from Kansas City and Houston and seeing the pieces that are happening within those cities, and they're obviously very different, but then the vibrancy that is there. And so I want to be able to capture the energy, the vibrancy. I want to feel like I belong, like I want to stay, I want to live here. And so that's why I'm reacting the way I'm reacting. I'm also a Latina that loves color. So color draws people.
Agreed.
Even green spaces draw people in, because you feel, when I go to a city that's really super green and then come back and realize Arizona is really green, it's just the warmth of it. And so I'm trying to capture that while we have the world looking at us to say, Phoenix is where we want to be.
Absolutely.
I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to give some suggestions to make that to make us who we are.
And I'm sure your guidance is dead spot on. And it's funny when I saw that. It's funny you would say that. It makes me want to be there. When I saw the first cut of the video, and my team will attest to this, I watched the video and went, man, I want to go there. That's really cool. You're exactly dead spot on with what we're going for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Good morning, Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee. I am here to speak about our green initiatives. As you know, Super Bowl will be on the world stage, and with that, we will be attracting nearly 1 million visitors to our downtown area. So the bar has been set high for us. Just to provide some context of our past Super Bowl experience in 2015, that was Super Bowl 49. That was the first attempt at a Super Bowl to have any type of waste diversion, and Phoenix was a part of that. And we are proud to be a part of that. And in 2015, we set a diversion goal of 80%. This year, we are upping the ante, and we want to be a zero waste event. And when anything's classified as a zero waste event, we're usually talking 90% or more, and we're going to do 92%. So we're really upping the ante and doing everything possible within our control to divert waste from our 1 million visitors. We do expect nearly 2,000 tons of materials to be produced in the downtown Phoenix area. So some of the approach on how to do that and get to that 92% goal is to really have a robust presence of recycle racks throughout the downtown corridor, across the corridor between Hance Park and the Phoenix Convention Center, where the Super Bowl experience sites will be located and where majority of the public will be walking through. We will divert a lot of the food waste that is produced in the back of the house at the convention center. So a lot of food that is being produced in the kitchen will be diverted through a food waste collection program through the Public Works Department. We do have a state-of-the-art compost facility at our 27th Avenue transfer station, and there, in partnership with our contractor, we do have new technology in place that we didn't have back in 2015. So in 2015, it was a very manual process. We had a lot of people sifting through the trash and pulling out organics or pulling out recyclables. But now we have technology that we can take advantage of, and we're really excited to use. It's in the picture in the top right corner. That's our food depackager, and that we can actually take food waste that is produced and discarded at the convention center, and it's bagged, and we run it through the machine, and this machine actually separates all of the organics from any material. Let's say an aluminum can were to get in there, it would separate that out. It would rip the bags open and deposit those, and those would be discarded as trash. And then we could take all of those organics and the food waste and compost that, and then within 40 to 60 days we'll have true compost, and that's the picture that you see down at the bottom right. So we're really excited to be on the world stage and be the first to say that we're a zero waste event for Super Bowl.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for having us here. I can tell you that from a public transit perspective, at the Public Transit Department and Valley Metro, we have several staff that have been here for many of the big events, including the 2015 Super Bowl, the Final Four event several years ago. So we incorporate many of the lessons learned from what we've done in the past into current and future operating plans. So we're here to give you an overview of our transit operations plan. And as you are aware, with me today is Jessica Mefford-Miller, the CEO of Valley Metro, and we have been attending several meetings internally and with John Chan's group, who's leading citywide discussions, so that we're in the loop with many aspects of what might be going on from various aspects such as streets and special events and things like that. So our focus is going to be on the efficient delivery of transit service. As you know, we have a robust bus and rail system that's in place today, and the good thing is that our later hours of operation and higher frequency are in the downtown area, so we feel we're covered there, but we are going to augment some services that you'll see in this overview. And we're using our lessons learned from previous large-scale events, and what I will tell you is that rail will be the heavy lift. We have augmented bus services in the past in various ways, but what we have found is that individuals who are coming downtown will utilize a rail system to a higher degree than they will the bus system. But nonetheless, again, we have a robust system from a bus perspective that will also get folks to where they need to go. So one of the things that we're focusing on is detours and bus stop relocations. We know there will be street closures and special events that will result in both of those. So we will do things like pushing out messages to our customers via our Valley Metro app. We will put signage at those affected bus stops in advance, and we will notify our customers in various ways, including onboard announcements in English and Spanish that will let them know of effects to routes and affected bus stops. We are also working with the City of Glendale for their request for expanded service on game day. 3 routes that City of Phoenix operates on Glendale's behalf will have more frequency, later hours of service, and connect to the Glendale parking right at 99th Avenue in Glendale, specifically for game day. Our heavy lift, I'll call it, on the bus side is that we will have staged buses downtown to support light rail. This is what we've done in previous instances from literally when the light rail system started up, where we expect that the light rail system may exceed its capacity, and we'll have buses along the alignment to serve the same alignment and same stops in cases where there will be instances of capacity issues. Local bus hours of operation you see up there from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m., but I will note the 11 p.m. is where the last trips start. So we have service on the street well past that. That's just where we start all of our routes, heading in the opposite direction for those last trips. So we will have service in the downtown areas and end of line well past that. So I wanted to clarify that. It is an all-hands-on-deck kind of operation for us in Valley Metro, so we will have staff on the street, at our facilities, monitoring bus stops in the Bus Operations Control Center, where we can see all of our buses at any given time and communicate with them. We have GPS on them, so we can see them on a big screen where they are, and the operators can tell us what they're experiencing. And of course, in the city's Emergency Operations Center, where we work with all of the other city departments, led by our public safety partners, to let us know what's going on in the street and what resources might be needed at any given time. From a rail perspective, I'll hand it over to Jessica.
Thank you, Jesus. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. I'd like to give you an overview of our planned light rail service for a Super Bowl event. We know that our charge for supporting Super Bowl is to move large volumes of people and quickly. And so for our operating plan from February 8th through 12th, our baseline is to operate trains at least every 15 to 20 minutes. On a normal basis, we operate two-car trains. We call them two-car consists. Through these days, we'll be operating all three-car trains. Each train can carry about 190 passengers, so a three-car consist can move almost 600 passengers. During special event egress periods, we'll be supplementing those service with additional trains moved between the scheduled trains. So at peak, when we are in the egress period post-event, we're able to move about 10,000 passengers in each direction per hour. We closely monitor volume on the street, especially exiting events, to deploy those trains accordingly. We will have trains stationed at strategic locations throughout the alignment, and as Jesus mentioned, we also have buses stationed near the light rail alignment to supplement train service if and when is needed. We're also expanding our span of service so that on February 8th through 12th, our trains are going to operate as late as 2 a.m. We think that will provide adequate space to clear all of the events. We also have staff posted throughout the system to provide customer support, including maintenance and cleaning throughout the entire alignment during that entire span of service. We know that from our prior events, we carried large volumes of people from some of our outlying stations across the region. We have about 5,000 parking spaces at Valley Metro's existing park ride lots. We're also looking for additional park ride opportunities outside of these stations. Our biggest park ride locations include Montebello and 19th in the city of Phoenix, Price Road and Apache in the city of Tempe, and Sycamore and Maine in Mesa. We do expect some of these park ride lots to reach capacity, and we'll be utilizing our communication tools to let passengers know about those constraints. With respect to security, we're working very closely with the City of Phoenix Police Department, including the City of Phoenix Transit Enforcement Unit and TSA. We will have increased light rail security throughout the Super Bowl events. Those team members will be at both posted or fixed locations and roving throughout the system. We are nearly at full resourcing on our Allied Universal Security contract. We're very pleased about that. Our contract partners are also bringing on additional personnel during these dates so that we can provide consistent coverage and presence across the system. Through coordination with TSA, there will also be K-9 sweeps at strategic locations throughout our system, including our rail yards before trains leave the yard for their service day and at our 3rd Street platform. We have an emergency operations center that's part of our operations and maintenance center. That is already staffed 24/7, but we have a heightened presence at this time. They are to deploy additional trains as necessary and to be responsive to security events in real time. Communication is a big part of our messaging. We will have volunteer ambassadors from the Valley Metro team and partnering organizations, including the Super Bowl Host Committee. They'll be stationed not only at our downtown stations, but also our park ride lots throughout the region, providing support to our customers. We have a customer service call center. That team is going to be operating extended hours to provide the real-time support that our customers need. We also have a number of collateral products that are print intended to provide customers with information, including pocket maps and guides for those who may be unfamiliar with the Valley Metro light rail system. We will have a dedicated website and digital communications. The Valley Metro app allows customers to plan their trip, to track their train or bus in real time, and beginning in January, customers will also be able to purchase their transit fare utilizing that app. We've begun testing that mobile ticketing program this month, and we expect to launch what is now that beta program into the public space in the coming weeks. We will also have onboard announcements, at-platform announcements, and audible announcements that are being made by the station managers who are stationed throughout the system. Finally, I want to give you an update on light rail construction, because while we are hosting this mega event, we are also continuing construction on 2 light rail expansions here in the city of Phoenix. I'm sure you have noticed in recent weeks we've begun to see a shift in the construction presence on the ground here in downtown. That is part of our Mobility Matters program, by which we will remove all of our traffic control, so all of those orange barriers and traffic control devices will be removed from downtown by the end of this month. That means the sidewalks will be open for pedestrians, roadways will be open for motorists and trains to move through much more freely than they have been in recent weeks. We'll return back to downtown after February 14th once Super Bowl events have been cleared, and we'll resume work at our stations on our overhead catenary systems, electrical work, landscaping work, and those final station details. Meanwhile, we're going to intensify our activity in the southern portion of the South Central Corridor. We hope that you will find downtown to be a much more accessible and attractive place to move. We'll also be clearly marking those stations that are now under construction where we're not providing service. Our key downtown stations are also going to be marked for either access or egress, so either boarding or deboarding will happen at those stations, and it's part of the role of our signage and our volunteers to make sure customers know how to get around in downtown. That concludes my portion of the presentation, and I think our collective presentation. I'll return it back to John. Thank you.
You do have questions. Councilwoman O'Brien has questions.
Jesus, you talked about rail being heavily used and not so much our bus transit. Are we doing anything to additionally advertise the busing options, since they'll take you to the same places?
Thank you for the question. Yes, Councilwoman O'Brien. Yes, as Jessica noted, we will have some transit-specific brochures. The know before you go is very important to us. So yes, the bus and rail aspects will both be equally advertised. Our experience has been during the largest events, like the previous Super Bowl and the Final Four, people just naturally tend to go more to rail. I think that's more because they see one line on the street and they know where they're going to, start and end, and there's parking spaces available in large numbers. So people just kind of naturally, go in that route. But nonetheless, we will have staff in our operations control center with buses available to address what we might be seeing out on the street. But yes, to your overall question, we will promote the bus side of things just as heavily. Okay.
And then you talk about hours being extended during what I presume would be Super Bowl week. But we have some activities happening on February 4th and 5th. Will there be extended hours during that weekend on light rail or bus?
So what we'll do for February 4th and 5th, which is consistent with how we support other large events that don't quite reach that Super Bowl mega event level, is we add additional trains on the basis of demand. So we're monitoring in real time on the ground and in our operations control center. We'll have those trains that are staged at strategic locations, and we'll pull them out until the platform's clear.
Okay.
And what I would say, Councilwoman O'Brien, a lot of our local routes go very late already, till 1:30, some of them. So we feel comfortable in that previous large events, we haven't gotten calls of people being stranded. The good thing with the app that Jessica mentioned is that you can plan out your trip, and it'll tell you how to get to your destination as well as back and how late those routes go.
Wonderful.
A great tool available in everyone's phone.
Well, thank you both so much for the information. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. First of all, it's clear I'm very, very excited to host Phoenix residents and visitors in downtown Phoenix and for all of the events that are happening. It was great to get an overview. We had Zona Fest last weekend in downtown, and despite the rain, it was a huge success and yet another festival that I think is leading into the Super Bowl experience. But I wanted to talk about safety in particular because I think that is top of mind right now for a lot of residents. We've seen shootings go up throughout the city nationwide, but particularly in this downtown Roosevelt Row area the past couple of weeks. We have had a couple of shootings, including early yesterday morning. So I have spoken with several local business owners since then, and I think people are definitely feeling very anxious and alarmed at the rise in gun violence in an area that hasn't experienced too much of that. And so if it would be helpful if we could hear a little bit more about some of the public safety plans in regard to the Super Bowl, what kind of enhanced security there will be, and police presence downtown in the weeks leading up to it. And in addition, I know you all have been doing a significant amount of outreach, and that was a helpful slide as well. I think we'll be pulling together a meeting in the next couple of weeks with downtown business owners to talk about the uptick in violence. And I think I have specifically gotten asked questions around the Super Bowl and what that will look like. So if the right folks could be there as well to talk to folks and just talk about the plan and how we can best equip businesses during that time. So I don't know if anyone can speak to some of those issues now, but.
John Chan, but I don't think public safety is here part of this group. Am I correct?
Correct, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. As part of the city's steering committee, we do have a public safety resource working group that includes our police and fire departments, Homeland Security. They work very closely with not only other local agencies, but state and federal agencies as well. We are actively working on putting together plans. We have tabletop exercises planned, and we're happy to have a more focused plan, if you will, for downtown so we can get back with our public safety partners and specifically look at certain areas to make sure that we have an enhanced plan to address any concerns.
That would be great. And if we could hear that plan in the subcommittee in the future, that would be great. And then again, I think that is more of a question I'm hearing from business owners. They want to know about that safety piece and the plan there. I think the exciting, fun things, they're hearing through the variety of different neighborhood groups that you have been speaking to. So if we could work on that together, that would be really helpful. I've also heard some concerns around residents' abilities to get through Hans Park during the event week. Obviously, many residents use the park to get into downtown for work or school or whatnot. Will the site plan allow for cut-through traffic for those who are not attending the event?
Councilwoman Ansari, that's a great question. The Super Bowl and its affiliated official events are considered one of the highest security events from a national standpoint. So the Super Bowl is equivalent to like a presidential inauguration.
Right.
And so it requires a heightened level of security. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's different for this upcoming Super Bowl than what we had in 2015 is that all of the official event venues, so the Phoenix Convention Center, Margaret T. Hans Park, will have a hard security perimeter with controlled access points. Okay. And so everyone will have to go through a security checkpoint, and that's just because of the nature and the high-profile event nature of this event.
Okay, so they will be able to get through. They just have to go through security checkpoints to do so.
That's correct.
Okay. And what are the exact dates in which that would be the case?
So it would be for any official event days.
Okay.
Anybody coming to those events will have to go through security checkpoints.
Okay. That is helpful. And then I know the last question I have is around the transit piece. I know at previous meetings there was some discussion about the possibility of offering free transit to go and from certain events. Is that at all still being explored or a possibility?
Thank you for the question, Councilwoman. That's an active subject of conversation. We're working with Convention Center, with John, with Downtown Phoenix Inc., and with the Super Bowl Host Committee to explore various options for sponsored fares.
Okay.
So revenue that would offset the passenger portion of that fare. We
Okay.
don't yet have anything concrete to report, but I can tell you it's a very active conversation, and as we're zeroing in on the go-live date, those conversations are progressing. So we do hope to have a go or no-go conversation pretty soon.
Okay, great. As you know, I'd be very supportive of that if it could be possible. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
So John, I'm going to clarify the Margaret Hance Park piece. People on a daily basis use Margaret Hance Park to cut through to and from to go to work. I believe the question is, are they going to be able to still do that, or is there a path or a way that they can do that? My understanding is that Margaret Hance Park is shut down and it's highly secured, and even if they went through security, say with their bike or skateboard, they're not going to be able to cut to 7th Avenue. I'm thinking 7th Avenue, or coming from 7th Avenue all the way through to 3rd. What is their normal pattern of doing daily business? I think that's, is that kind of what the, yeah.
Vice
I'm not sure.
Mayor, the actual footprint of the Super Bowl experience at Hance Park will be on the eastern portion of the site, so the other half of the site will be open and available, so it doesn't take up the entirety of the park.
So if I'm coming on 7th, where the dog park is, and I'm coming, I'm coming down that way, that's the west side of the park. I keep going, I use the park to go all the way to 3rd, I think it's 3rd, yeah. At a certain point, I'm assuming I'll be stopped because I can't continue because of security or there's fencing, and I'll have to get off and go around.
That is generally would be from Central to 3rd Street. Yeah.
Okay. So yes and no. The answer.
Okay. So, okay, now I'm confused. So you can go through security, though, to get through the park?
Yes, you could if you wanted to.
Okay, so it is a yes.
But, sorry. I was to say, for clarification, the boundaries are Central to 3rd Street, and then whatever the north and south parts of the park, right?
Correct.
So if it's open, you could go through. If it's not, you're going to have to go round. So if the event is not happening at 8 a.m. in the morning, you will not be able to go through a security because it won't be there. You'll have to go around.
Right, once the perimeter is established.
Once the perimeter is established. So it's probably better for residents to presume they have to go around rather than through. Do you all know if like when you go to a football game right now, if you're a female, you can only have a small, clear bag. So taking your briefcase through an event is probably not going to happen, correct?
Yes, there will be requirements for what you can and cannot bring in. Okay. So, before we get to the actual event, I think that's one of the things that working with Zandon and Dan's team is to make sure that we address those specifically as it relates to security perimeters and what you can and can't bring in.
And will those neighborhoods be appropriately communicated with to know during these days that this is going to be a secure site where you will not have access unless you're actually going to the event, so that they have plenty of opportunity to plan for that change in route?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman O'Brien, yes, that's part of the discussion with the neighborhood groups, and as we continue to evolve and finalize that information, we are pushing that information out to the community.
How is it getting pushed out then?
It's getting pushed out. There's 3 primary ways right now. One is through the neighborhood meeting, so as we're meeting one-on-one with the neighborhoods, the community. A second will be that it's pushed out through both those e-blasts as well as it will be put onto the city's informational website. So there's a know before you go section of multiple websites. It's on the city website. It's on Downtown Phoenix Inc.'s website. It's also on the host committee's website. It will be located on all of those, and then we will also push it out through our business forums, which will be held in January.
Okay, but if I'm a resident who, quite frankly, doesn't care about football, although I can't imagine why you would be that way, and I'm kind of living in my bubble, unaware of what might be happening in my community, am I going to get something in my mailbox or on my door to alert me that, I live within close proximity. You would think I would know, but there are going to be people who are not going to know the Super Bowl is coming and that they're not going to have access.
Madam Chair, Councilwoman O'Brien, that's really where we're relying on those flyers, as well as working with those, neighboring property owners. Some residents are really difficult to reach, especially if you're within an apartment complex that has secured access. We can't knock on your door and let you know that it's coming, but we are working with the management of those companies. Other residents will receive a flyer on their door if we can do that, pushing them to the website for information on those impacts, this being one of those impacts.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And we'll use Nextdoor as well, where we can really zero in on certain neighborhoods and give them a specific message that relates to them.
I believe you should use Nextdoor. I believe you should go through all the neighborhood associations that are organized within that area. You have FQ Story, Roosevelt. FQ Story is a little further, but they cut through. You have Rick Neymart's neighborhood, and all through those areas. So I think you need to start chattering now with those neighborhood associations to start saying this is what it's going to look like and this is when it's going to start. And I think there needs to be very clarity on the Hance Park as to at what time you can enter, what time you can't. Can you take a backpack? Can you take a briefcase? What these are things that our community is asking for, and so my suggestion is that you get out in January to all the community groups to be able then to hear and listen what their concerns are. In the police, I would like to, I know we have it in future agendas, but I would like to bring back in January, and probably sooner than later. We usually meet at the end of January. The Super Bowl piece on that. Also probably still bring in transit because they'll go a combo conversation. So I would like to see that. And then the free fare. The free fare, for everybody to have a free fare, my understanding it's 500,000, or am I off?
Or
600?
to sponsor fares for all of the light rail system from February 8th through 12th, we estimate the cost to be about $530,000.
$530,000. Now I understand that there's a conversation of just the downtown area, and that would be, I think, 180. I'm rounding up.
Yeah, right about $180,000.
I would like to know from a police perspective what the challenges are from the 180 to actually just covering the fare.
From the law enforcement or the security perspective?
Law enforcement and security perspective.
So I can't speak for law enforcement, but I can tell you we've had this detailed conversation within Valley Metro with our security team, and it would actually be simpler to make it fare-free for the entire system. We would have to supplement our existing staff with patrols at the end of each line to sweep trains and make sure people aren't riding through. In other words, riding without a destination, where we clear the terrain at each platform. But the customer confusion is really what you avoid by making that fare free across the system. As I mentioned earlier, we see trips that are happening between some of the distant stations and the downtown stations, as evidenced by the high boardings at those locations and the high park ride utilization. So it could be confusing if I board at Mesa and Maine and I pay a fare, and then I go back on from third and I don't pay a fare. So there's a little bit of confusion there that generates security issues with questions that become difficult to support when we're dealing with or supporting the kind of crowds that we're talking about here.
So my question, I guess my scenario, which I've been playing in my head and talking back and forth with staff, was I am actually attending a Super Bowl activity, but I'm boarding at Tempe. I get on and I'm told Super Bowl, ride the light rail because I'll be attending a Super Bowl activity. I get on. Somewhere in there, someone comes on and says, "You're on the ride. Can I see your ticket?" And I turn around and say, "No, I'm attending a Super Bowl activity. Here's my ticket to the Super Bowl, or to the concert." Then that becomes, I would say, kind of like a push-pull me. They go, say they lose their ticket or whatever, get back on the ride, then they get checked again. For me, it's about the customer experience, and for me, it's about, once again, the world is watching us and how we interact with our customers and consumers and everyone else. So I would like that conversation to be really discussed and saying, what do we do, figure out what we're going to do, and then we're going to have to go raise the money. At the end of the day, we're going to have to raise the money in order to cover this. And so what is that plan? And we have to do it quickly. I do know right now several organizations in December asked for proposals for the following year, and some of those deadline dates we may have missed. So some of the people that we would naturally ask may not be able to help. So I would like to see this discussion closed in the sense of what are we doing, how are we going to act so we can get there and get it done. And I know it's the city of Phoenix and a whole coalition. So that's kind of my directive, I guess, John. I don't know who's leading the conversations, but to get that, figure it out. Do we do just downtown or do we do the whole line? And then start moving and identifying people that we need to raise money, corporations that we need to raise money from. And I'm assuming my colleagues will help me. They just smiled. That's a yes. And so those were my three. Any other questions?
I do have one more, Chair.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm going to go back to the light rail timing. Just occurred to me that our bars and restaurants, sometimes that serve liquor, stay open till 2 a.m. So why don't we have our hours extended to like 2:30 or 3 to ensure those folks all have rides home?
Yeah, good question, Councilwoman. So we will be scheduled until 2 a.m., but we do closely monitor the platform conditions, and we're able to do that through our operations control centers and make decisions extemporaneously to run additional trains. Okay. The reasons we don't run 24/7 and the reasons you don't typically see that in light rail is that downtime, if you will. That's our time to get the trains back into the operating facility, perform maintenance and cleaning, and then the same for overhead catenary systems and stations, because we're pulling back out in the 4 a.m. hour. So having that little bit of respite is necessary, but we do watch and we do control that from the operations control center.
Great, that's good to know that you're at least watching and can make decisions as needed.
Yeah, there's
based
a
on the
plan,
information.
and then there are tools in place to deviate and respond to that plan when our capacity exceeds the plan.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you. One question on the platform during that time. Where we have security now, like 19th Avenue in Glendale, will they stay at 19th Avenue in Glendale, or is those platforms going to be shifted throughout?
We will continue to have fixed posts at those stations where we've got a few stations where today we have fixed posts. We'll also have fixed posts at other stations, so you'll see more, not less. Fixed posts plus roving patrols.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much for all your good work. Still working it. Thank you. All right, item number 6. This is for information and discussion. Shared Micromobility Program RFP Contract Award. This is an RFP that we voted on, and now this is the award of the contract.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. We're excited to provide an update on the Street Transportation Department's efforts to implement the city's micromobility program. I'm joined by Assistant Street Transportation Director Brianna Velez. This item is presented for information and discussion, and it is scheduled for action tomorrow at the council formal meeting on the 14th. First slides here. The city, going by a little bit of background here, the city launched the e-scooter program that's currently in operation back in September 2019. We currently have 4 vendors who are operating with 300 fleet vehicles each and have logged over 300,000 rides. However, during the operation of the scooter program, we've heard significant feedback from the community wanting a more comprehensive and permanent program and an expansion of the program beyond the initial scooter boundary areas. In response to that feedback, we have worked on a shared micromobility program that we're going to be talking about today. The intent was first to be able to expand the types of vehicles that will be available to people to use under the program. We're also looking at increasing the fleet for those because of the diversity of the vehicles, and expanding the boundary areas, which I'll talk to and show a map of shortly, and also to include new parking requirements outside the current scooter boundary program, and also looking at equity zones, because one of the things that's looked at when micromobility around the country is making sure that these vehicles are not just provided in high traffic areas where where a lot of activities are happening, but also to provide it as a transportation option in areas where people don't have those options available. So this is the program boundary that was approved when we came back in the spring, earlier this spring, to get council approval on moving forward with the RFP, or the procurement to hire new vendors for our micromobility program, and this is the expanded boundary area. The yellow boundary on the map is where the current scooter program operates, and the blue area is the expansion of the area under the micromobility program. And now I'm going to turn it over to Brianna to walk you through the procurement process with more details about that.
Councilwoman Stark has a question.
Right.
Just curious about the new boundaries. Have you heard any comments about other parts of the city? For example, I was up in the Kierland area a couple weeks ago, and Scottsdale does allow it in Scottsdale quarters, and you see people riding across into the city of Phoenix. So has there been discussion about maybe targeting some other areas?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Stark, members of the subcommittee, that is kind of as we look to expand these boundaries and expand the operation of the micromobility program, the different type of technology to dock these vehicles is going to be something we're going to be looking at over the first few months of this operation, because the success of that, or our experience with that, is going to help us be able to formulate potentially a recommendation to council in the future to be able to expand these boundaries further. Yes, and we have heard areas around the city who are interested. I know Councilwoman O'Brien has talked about with the expansion of the light rail up towards Metro Center. I know Councilwoman Guardado, with the work we're doing on the Grand Canal project, is interested in micromobility vehicles doing there as well. And I know there's other members as well, including Councilmember Garcia. So we know that that's a desire. We want to make sure we get it right, and so there's some changes with this micromobility program that they're going to be outlining here, that will be some of the things we're testing and looking at before we formulate that recommendation for any expansion.
Okay, I mean, it's happening now, and I'm sure they think they're still in Scottsdale, because that part of our city is addressed as Scottsdale, but certainly there were quite a lot of scooters and bikes in the area, so I'm hoping that you will look at those areas soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
All right, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. So in September of this year, Streets issued a revenue contract solicitation to procure shared micromobility services. The selection was made using a competitive procurement process in accordance with Phoenix City Code Chapter 43 and Administrative Regulation 3.10. 4 firms responded to the solicitation, which were Bird, G-Bike, Lime, and Spin. The evaluation panel consisted of staff from Street Transportation, Public Transit, and Community and Economic Development departments, as well as a representative from Downtown Phoenix, Inc. The proposals were evaluated based on 6 criteria. The method of approach and equity accounted for roughly 60% of the evaluation. The company's experience, operations team staffing, and program financing accounted for approximately 28%, and the remaining 12% was based on marketing, community engagement, and data. The selection panel selected Spin and Lime as the top 2 highest ranked proposals based on the evaluation criteria and recommended both vendors be selected. As I mentioned earlier, this will be a revenue generating contract with no city funding. Vendors will each provide a $15,000 minimum annual guarantee plus an additional 25 cents per trip. Revenues to the city will be used to cover the cost of staff time to oversee the program. Any additional revenues will be used for implementation of downtown active transportation related projects as well as program expansion. And the contracts will also allow the vendors off-site advertising on parking corrals and the vehicles within the public right-of-way. We're really excited that there's going to be equity components to these contracts that wasn't included in the pilot program. So vendors will ensure at least 30% of their fleet is deployed in the 11 equity zones, and they will automatically apply a 30% discount to rides starting within those equity zones. The vendors are also going to provide various pricing options to include low income rates, weekly, monthly commuter passes, as well as student passes. I really want to highlight some of the technology enhancements that were part of the proposals that were evaluated. So the e-scooters and e-bikes will be equipped with sidewalk detection technology to enforce the program's no sidewalk riding rule. We have improved geofencing technology that will more accurately enforce program boundaries, no ride zones, and proper parking with accuracy down to 2 to 4 feet. After 10 p.m., riders will be required to complete a reaction time assessment in the vendor's app before riding to prevent intoxicated individuals from using the micromobility vehicles. And vehicles will be able to detect if they are tipped over, so vendor staff can remedy this issue very promptly.
So, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, the recommendation that's going to council tomorrow for formal approval is to enter into 2 separate agreements with Lime and Spin to provide shared micromobility services to the city of Phoenix. To authorize an additional staff person in the department, we anticipate with the expansion of this program and that we're going to need additional staff to do this. So this is going to be paid for revenues through the city through these agreements. And then finally, in order to ensure that we have ability to be able to operate these and consistency operated, we're providing the opportunity for these vendors to be able to incorporate advertising on the vehicles and also in the corrals that they're going to be managing and maintaining. And so that requires an exception to the city code to allow that to happen in the right-of-way. And that concludes our presentation. We'd be more than happy to entertain any questions.
I have public comments. I have virtual comment. Cindy Gahn.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Cindy Gahn, Senior Director of Phoenix Community Alliance. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. We are excited that 2 PCA members have been selected and recommended, shall I say, for the micromobility program expansion. The downtown shared e-scooter program has been successful since its inception in 2019, and expanding the program boundaries is also extremely exciting, as well as the scope, so that it includes much desired traditional pedal bikes, which we wanted for a long time since grid left, e-bikes, adaptive vehicles, and increasing the fleet cap as well. We're excited that this will become a permanent program. And the requirements to address equity are also very encouraging for us, and we're looking forward to more City of Phoenix residents and visitors being able to access these vehicles. So we are also excited again that 2 PCA members have been recommended, and we sure wish that Bird could have been included, but understand and respect the process that was exercised by the selection panel. So we support these measures, and we are looking forward to the possibility of an expanded program in the future as well. So we just ask that you support this, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have Sean Ash.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. My name is Sean Ash from Bird Rides. The future program was designed for 2 to 3 micromobility operators, and the current program has worked well with 4. but the City of Phoenix has opted to select just 2 operators to provide services over the next 5 years. We believe selecting 2 operators risks the long-term viability of micromobility in Phoenix and respectfully ask the city to reconsider and allow 3 operators. We bring 3 items for your consideration today. 1, account for changes in the industry. We don't know what the future will bring in Phoenix. As the city experienced with grid bikes, there is uncertainty in this industry as shared mobility providers go bankrupt or pull out of markets. With only 2 operators, if one drops out, the resources and time required for an alternate operator to join the program allows for the remaining operator to have a monopoly. A 3rd operator ensures that come what may, Phoenicians will have access to shared electric transportation. 2, foster competition. Additional competition creates benefits for Phoenix residents and visitors, greater choice, greater geographic coverage, and a greater pool of technological innovation. Competition will also help achieve the city's equity goals. 30% equity zone deployment requirements mean that if selected operators do not operate at or near their 3,000 vehicle cap, that there will be less vehicles available in key opportunity zones. 3, improve compliance and accountability. The city's new set of regulations are complex and require significant resources in order to comply. With 3 operators, if one operator cannot comply and has its contract terminated, the city is still left with multiple compliant operators. In fact, we respectfully propose that the city conduct quarterly check-ins on the status, level of compliance, and performance of the operators. This will allow the city to adjust the program to meet its goals. Thank you again for your time and consideration. We respectfully ask the city to choose 3 operators, but regardless of the final decision, please know that Bird will continue to be a resource and active partner for Phoenix in the years to come. Thank you.
Councilwoman Stark.
Could you refresh my memory as to why we only chose 2 providers?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Stark, members of the subcommittee, when we originally put out the procurement, we asked for potentially up to 3 or 2 to 3 vendors. The reason was when we were looking at the different devices that were out there, the e-scooters, the pedal bikes, and the e-bikes, we weren't confident that a vendor would be able to provide all those vehicles. The 2 vendors we're moving forward, or selected to move forward, are able to provide all those 3 vehicles plus adaptive vehicles, so they're able to provide all the vehicles we were asking for in the solicitation. We were really concerned about the pedal bikes, that might be one that we'd have to ask for a vendor just to provide the pedal bikes, but both vendors are willing to do that. We're also concerned about the operating boundaries with the additional devices in there as well, making sure that this boundary is enough. It's bigger, but it's maybe not enough to support the 3 with the new program we're doing here. I think when we also, going to your question earlier about when we look at potential expansion, I think there's an opportunity to potentially bring additional vendors in, but that's something we would work with the 2 vendors we've selected to see if, as this program expands potentially beyond the boundary areas we're asking for today, that would be a potential opportunity for another vendor. But at this point in time, it's not something we would recommend moving forward with the 2, other than the 2 that we've got.
So we could revisit this in a matter of months and add some additional users?
Yes, that's true. That's what we anticipate coming back to probably your subcommittee, Councilwoman, to be able to tell you how this program is operating and what are the growing pains, how is it working, and be able to entertain potentially movements to expand the boundaries or to be able to expand the program further.
So, Madam Chair, perhaps in 6 months we could revisit and also look at the boundaries as well. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair? Yeah. So would we be able to use this RFP if we were going to expand to another vendor? Or would we have to go out for RFP again? That's what I don't understand.
You have to do it.
Madam Chair, Councilwoman O'Brien, members of the subcommittee, the intent would be, we'll have to be able to double check with that, but our intent, and we believe we could use this to both expand the boundaries of the program, because this program is a 3-year contract with 2 additional optional years in there. We believe the procurement process would allow us, since it already was set up to do to 2 to 3, if we expanded a point in time when we think we could accommodate a 3rd vendor, we could bring that recommendation forward.
Without going out for another RFP. Okay, wonderful, thank you.
So it's written that we can add a vendor? Is that what I'm hearing? Because I would like legal to. Well, legal can't because they don't have the RFP in front of them, but.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, we'll double check that for sure, but.
Yeah, I don't have the RFP in front of me, but we'll double check, and if we have to go back out legally, we would do that. but it depends on how the RFP is written.
Correct. My question is, several months ago, or maybe a year ago, we had 2 vendors. And then it was discussion to bring a 3rd vendor on. And then at that moment, we voted to bring a 3rd vendor on. So I guess I'm a little confused as to why we don't have a 3rd vendor. I would like to know the numbers downtown in order to how we determine to get the 3rd vendor back into play. I'm also hearing that with the expansion of the boundary, that there's a sentiment that there wouldn't be that many users. And so I don't know how you determine that. So what metrics did you use to determine that there weren't going to be enough users to have 3 vendors?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, when we looked at the 2 to 3, we were looking at 2 vendors because we didn't want to be in a situation where, with the grid bike share program, where one drops out and we don't have a service. We don't have any firm numbers, but we were looking at what other entities do. But one difference between what we experienced with the scooter program and what this program is, the scooter program was done under a permit operation where they were soliciting and asking for a permit to do this. This is actually a contract with the city to be able to provide these services. So it is a long-term contract. It's a long-term commitment both from the city and these vendors to do this. We feel comfortable with moving forward too, but we also want to, we'll seek clarification to make sure before the vote tomorrow that we have the ability to come back with a 3rd contract if it warrants it from an expansion or a need use from the fleet perspective.
Okay, thank you. I just have one comment. I had the pleasure of traveling with some of my colleagues to Houston to look at rapid transit, bus rapid transit, which we call BRT. And I was actually excited to spend a lot of time with some of the young chief of staffs on this trip. And I spent some quality time with them and discussing different type of issues. One of them was micromobility, because they were all teasing me about the micromobility, because the district that everybody wants is District 4. And when you hear we want to expand, they really want to say, they're really saying District 4. And I don't have a problem in expanding on the different districts on the outskirts and then move in from the outside to the middle. The reason why I struggle with the micromobility is because I have older neighborhoods. I have very well-established neighborhoods that will push back. And what I had promised to the group was I'm willing to entertain the micromobility conversation, but I'm willing to entertain it with everybody in the community doing community meetings. And I have over 100 neighborhood associations. So my commitment is to do that as long as staff and all the other companies are willing to go out and talk to those neighborhoods to discuss micromobility and what it would look like in District 4 and how you would use the 7s that are not pedestrian friendly, as we discussed a couple weeks ago or about a week ago on a project, and how you would make it so that where would they park or where would they put the micromobility or whatever source of item they're using. And I'm more than willing and committed to do that. My dynamic is also some of our streets there's no streets. And so how would you do that? Would they be using the streets? Would they be using the sidewalks? These are all the dialogue conversations that need to be had. I believe the districts, and I commend the districts that are expanding, because there's also a lot more flexibility and sidewalk space. And then be able to identify you can't use it here and you can't use it there. So I would also like to see the 6 months pilot to see what the best practices are, what didn't work and what did work in that commitment. But what I'm committing to do this, and I'm committing to do it within the next year. I will be going out to the community to talk about growth. In particular, the area that probably the micromobilities are looking at is our core, Central Phoenix, and our canal. And I will be having a number of meetings regarding growth, traffic, and other ways, and maybe this is where we introduce micromobility. I don't know, for me, it's up to the constituents to determine what they want in their neighborhoods. So I'm just letting staff know that, and I'm also putting that on the record. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you. And I think on that, understanding that there is some fear in other neighborhoods, it's really important that this program and these expanded boundaries go well, that they're safe, that they're easy on neighborhoods and efficient. So on that note, could you provide a little bit more information on what parking of scooters and bikes will look like in the expanded boundaries? The new areas in D7 and D8 have a lot more neighborhoods involved than the previous downtown focus boundary. So how are we ensuring that we don't see an issue with discarded bikes and scooters in residents' yards?
Madam Chair and Councilwoman Ansari. So outside of the downtown program, obviously we have found with the pilot program, we have the parking corrals in downtown Phoenix that have worked really, really great. As part of this contract, the vendors are going to continue to maintain those to make sure, if you've seen, some of them have deteriorated, so they're going to come in, they're going to refresh those, make sure they look really good and continue to maintain them. Outside of the downtown area, they are contributing to over 900 bicycle racks. They will have to be locked to, so there is going to be a lock-to mechanism on an expandable cord that they need to lock these to. So we're going to be working very closely with the vendors to identify the locations where all 900 of these will go in the expanded area. As we continue to expand the program boundary, they have committed to providing additional bicycle racks as well.
Okay. And then when it comes to, potential of expansion, given the miles and miles of bike lanes and canals and everything that we do have, if a specific neighborhood decided that they don't want scooters permitted, what would the process be to get their area geo-fenced?
I think, Madam Chair, Councilwoman Ansari, members of the subcommittee, it would be similar to what we did with the original scooter program, where we worked with different communities. And in this case of the downtown area, we worked with ASU, we worked with the Convention Center, Parks and Recreation, to be able to identify potential ride restriction or no ride zones. And so we worked in geofencing those. And now, obviously, the more areas that are not geofenced, it means that it's more usable for people out there. But we understand that that may be a sensitivity of certain communities or neighborhoods. And so that would be the process we would work through. As we expand the boundaries, we would work through those same options to be able to look at where we might have to geofence neighborhoods or different areas as we expand it out.
Okay. And then for the low income rates, student rates, and commuter passes, how will residents be able to access those? And will they have to apply?
Madam Chair and Councilwoman Ansari, yes, there will be the ability to coordinate with the specific vendors. I know some of the vendors have suggested that they would give up to 5 free passes a month. Some of them are just going to be providing, like, say, for low income, an 82% discounted rate. So they both have, different varying types of programs. But the residents would work directly with those companies through the app to get qualified based on their requirements, and then they would qualify under those for those monthly or weekly passes or student passes. So,
okay. And then I know that in the outreach that Streets has done, there was overwhelming support for expanding the boundaries. When can we expect to be presented with another such plan?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Ansari, members of the subcommittee, as kind of talked about here, I think 6 months is a good operational period to be able to see how this is working, both with the expanded boundaries, the lock-to technology, the vendors that are operating in their fleets, and be able to come back with a report card back on that, and then be able to move forward with potential expansion.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Very excited, and especially glad the pedal bikes were in there. As Cindy mentioned, those are very popular with residents. So thank you for all of your work.
I believe we have one more speaker, Mike McCollum. Thank you. I almost forgot you.
Bird. I'm here today because the City of Phoenix is making a recommendation to award micromobility providers a contract to operate for 5 years under its shared micromobility program. The city was able to award 2 to 3 operators, but has chosen to go with 2, and Bird is not included. Bird's Fleet Manager program has been life-changing for so many people, including myself. For the past 2 years, this program provided myself and other local Phoenicians the opportunity to be self-employed business owners and give employment opportunities to other citizens of our community. I'm passionate and dedicated about micromobility and being a moving force in providing transportation to all Phoenicians, especially those that need it the most. Over the past 2 years, my fellow fleet managers and I, along with our employees, have truly committed to Phoenix's micromobility program. We are locals, we understand the needs of the city, and because of the unique way in which Bird partners with us fleet managers, our success and livelihoods are directly a result of how efficient and effective we run our operations and how many rides we can get. Therefore, every day, we are making sure that our vehicles are clean, sanitary, ensure the safety and quality, stay in compliance with city regulations, and consistently make sure our vehicles are appropriately staged and not allowing them to become a nuisance within the community. We are not paid minimally as hourly workers, and so the care for our maintenance of the program reflects that. We are more than happy to go above and beyond for the City of Phoenix micromobility program. I'm not sure why the city decided to not include a third operator, even though that was a part of their initial proposal. Not doing so will put my ability to support my family at risk, as the current Phoenix market is approximately 40% of my total revenue. I truly believe adding a third operator would be beneficial for the Phoenix micromobility program because this is a city populated with well over 1 million people and maintains a strong surge of tourism throughout the year. By having more options available for riders, we can more effectively service our community as a whole. I strongly encourage you to vote for a third operator in the micromobility program in Phoenix and continue to support local small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. This is for information and discussion. I want to say it goes to formal tomorrow, so we could probably have that discussion tomorrow and add that item if we wanted to. So. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the report. I believe there's call to the public. There's no call to the public. Any future agenda items? None? Meeting adjourned. Happy holidays.